Hi everyone, welcome to episode 6 of Mommin'. I'm Megan.
I'm Jessica.
And we're so excited to be back again. While we're recording this, it's Labor Day weekend. It won't be when you hear it.
No.
What's been going on with you?
Well, not too much. I have been feeling exhausted the past week. I feel like COVID's hitting me a little bit, where I'm just a little tired, a little over it, and definitely just feeling like I need a break a little bit. It was funny. I told it to my husband, so he said, he very nicely said, go take a break, go check out, and just do whatever. And so I did. I went upstairs and I was just gonna watch a show of mine and just sort of zone out. I was gonna watch the Real Housewives of New York finale. It was very important. And about 10 minutes in, he came up and he said, what should I give the kids for dinner, do you think? Or lunch, I don't even remember what meal it was. And I remember thinking, this is not checking out. Like, I'm not physically with the kids, but I am not checking out right now. But on the flip side, I can also see why he would feel like he needed to come ask me, because I definitely have more opinions about what the kids eat and what to feed them. And I know more about like our fridge and what the groceries are in it and what's meant for what. But it just made me realize that I need to be more communicative with him about, you know, what I need, but also I need to adjust how I respond to the way that he's doing things, because he feels like he needs to ask me what to feed them, because I am much more opinionated and I'm a control freak about a lot of things. So I feel like I've participated in us getting into this pattern where he feels as if he has to ask me, because otherwise I'll say something about it. And I need to, like, if I walk in and the kids are eating buttered noodles, they're fine.
Buttered noodles are something I serve and eat, so
which I don't think he's ever even served them buttered noodles, but that, just some, like, if they're eating, it just doesn't even matter what they're eating. I need to just let that go and make him feel like I trust him in that. Not to say that he shouldn't, you know, just not be able to feed them without me, and he would, but I just made me realize that we need to adjust our way of thinking. And I need to make changes, and so does he in that. And so we talked about that a bit. But I think that'd be really helpful for both of us, because then you could truly check out, which would be great, because feeling like you're always on, which I think was a common theme of motherhood before, but it's ever present now, or at least it is for me and a lot of moms that I know. So just something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, about changing my mindset and changing our dynamic so that we're both happier and both feeling like we're getting what we need.
yeah. And it's harder in COVID, because if you left the house, he wouldn't have asked.
No, and they'd be fine. Like
yes.
I said, and as long as they're fed, it really doesn't matter. But it's all those little decisions, like having to make decisions. Decision fatigue is real.
Patrick does that. He'll feed them weird things. He gave Tori noodles and beans the other day. And I was like, did you give her a vegetable or a fruit? But she was fed, and she gets fruit all day and vegetables all day.
And I think it's fine.
Yes. It's what I think, like, if I wasn't here, would they still be fine? It's like, yes, they would be fed. They'd be fine.
Morbid thought, but yeah.
No, not like...
like in the house,
like if like if I was gone for a week, they would still be fine.
Right. Things might be not running the way that you like them.
Yes.
But as long as they're alive and happy, that's all that really matters.
Well, and the way I like it probably isn't how Patrick likes things to run.
I think that's a problem, too. Like, we're used to our systems, but
yes.
Yeah, it's just different.
When you're staying at home more, too. Like, so, well, I mean, he's staying at home, too, but he's upstairs working. And so I'm like, oh, I have, like, this routine that works. And then he comes in, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess I have to let you do it how you want.
Right. Right. That's part of the problem, is that we want them to work within our system, but also we want the break. I think it's just hard. Yeah. It's just tough.
It really is. Or I'll, like, hear downstairs the argument, and I can't just, like, not hear it.
No, it's amplified.
Yeah. Gotta leave the house.
Gotta go somewhere.
We tried to leave the house this weekend. My in-laws are with us, and we tried to go on a date, but Tori is one and wild, and so we think it's more helpful if we put her down first, which they would be totally fine. But like how things worked out, it just made sense for us to wait until she was down because it was so close to when she'd go to bed for the night. And we finally got our food to do like curbside pickup at almost like 8 o'clock at night, and we ended up eating out of a trunk. And I thought, this is COVID. I mean, it's a Subaru, so we were sitting, but it was in the dark, and we were eating takeout, and then we had nowhere to go. We're like, well, what should we do now?
And by the way, a Subaru does not make it a 5-star restaurant.
No. It's not like a trunk, like we weren't sitting in a trunk somehow. It was a hatchback.
It's still nicer, but it's still not,
yes,
not the ideal date night. Yeah, like what do? You can't go anywhere.
No, we drove around. And then we're like, is it late enough for a 3-year-old to be asleep yet? Let's hope so.
Because I'm going home. Yeah. There's only so much nature you can look at, I think.
Well, yeah, and it was like...
And it's dark.
We didn't bring, like, bug spray. We didn't plan well.
Well, you don't have much warning about a date night sometimes. And
yeah. My mother-in-law said, why didn't you go to a drive-in? I was like, that would have been smart to look into.
Oh, yeah. That actually would have been great.
Yeah. We should have.
Oh. I don't even know what new movies are out. Are new movies out? Is
that
a thing?
I don't know. Do drive-ins play new movies?
I
or
don't
do they
know.
play old movies?
I have not been to a drive-in since I think we saw Titanic as kids.
You saw Titanic at the drive-in?
I believe it was in Wisconsin when we visited our cousins. And I remember we had blankets on top of the minivan.
Yeah, that was so fun.
See, you remember.
I don't remember Titanic.
I think it was Titanic.
I think you would watch more than one movie in a drive-in too.
Maybe
don't
not
you?
if it's Titanic.
Well,
3 hours long.
Don't they play more than one?
I don't know. I've only done it I think once, but it sounds super fun.
Yeah, so that's what I think we should do.
Yeah, let's look into that.
Although now our drive-in's happening in September. It's pretty cold out.
We're in Minnesota, as a reminder. So in many places, I'm sure they happen all the time. We should look into that.
Yes.
It's not freezing yet, so probably.
She said it when we were, like, getting ready to leave, and I was like, dang it. Why didn't we do that?
Well, bookmark that so you can, maybe for your anniversary weekend coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it'll be something. But I agree. COVID's getting, I think, I knew it would last longer than 2 weeks, but I was hopeful. I thought it would still be happening now, but I think I hoped that it might not be.
Right. Because none of us predicted what it would be.
Yes, they thought it might dip in the summer, and so we hoped maybe we could have a little bit more we could do in the summer, and that clearly didn't happen. Yeah.
It's funny, I was talking to our mom yesterday and saying to her, I just never really thought that I would live through something like this. Not like I ever consciously thought about it, but you would hear about like the Black Plague or the Great Depression, and in my head I'm like, well, that was so long ago, and that's obviously so naive. So it's, maybe a younger person's train of thought, but I never really considered that we were living in a time frame where things like that could happen, because I was like, oh, we have all these medical advances. I just never really thought it would be something, but
I didn't either. I mean, I know we have like H1N1, but it wasn't this, and like Ebola and so there's pandemics that happen all the time all over the world, but I didn't expect this either.
Yeah.
Maybe you just can't.
Right. Maybe it's so far removed, and you can't picture this.
No.
Like, you could have never pictured this. So it's, I think it's just 6 months in, which seems like a normal time for this to start to feel exhausting. It's been half a year almost.
Yeah.
So it's starting to feel like a lot. And now I know so many people are sending their kids back to school, and so it's a whole other level again of, adjusting back to the remote learning or trying the hybrid or whatever your school is doing. So I think a lot of people are dealing with just a lot right now. So
I do think that's part of it, because I think that it's like when it happened and the schools kind of shut down, and then it was like for 2 weeks, and it was like, okay, we're not going back until fall. I was like, oh, and then we'll have like a good solid plan because we'll have all this time. But things just keep changing.
Yeah.
So you expected it to be different. And I think too, like, the shock has worn off, but I still have to remind myself, like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Patrick and I were eating the other day, and I was like, can you believe this is real life?
Right.
Like, this is what's happening.
Right. And in some ways it feels like our kids or us are losing a year of our lives almost. Like they're not getting the normal things, but I think it's really important to focus on what they are getting, or at least for me, it's important to focus on like, okay, I'm getting more time with them, and because otherwise I just go down the depressing rabbit hole of what is this world and why.
And we will, hopefully there will be a day when we're out of this, and I think that like what we learn from this, we could never get from anything else. And 100%. So it is hopefully not a good thing, because it's an awful thing, and there's so many people have been sick, and healthcare workers and frontline workers, grocery store workers, like it's so hard. So not to take away from that, but we can find what we will learn and gain from it.
Absolutely. I was, like I mentioned earlier to Megan before we were recording, I was listening to the I Mom So Hard podcast, and one of the hosts was talking about things that she's loving about COVID for her family and things that she's certain that she's gonna miss after it's over. And I like, you know what, I really like that focus. Like, okay, let's focus on what is good and what is beneficial. And I just liked hearing that. It was just a good reminder, because there's so much negative, so where we can find those silver linings, sure.
Yes. So. And like it kind of puts in perspective, like, yes, let's find the silver linings. And also like there are people who have been living in like wartime or like, you know, very extreme situations for their whole lives, and like that doesn't take away that like this is really hard, but it's given me perspective like, oh my gosh, I've been living like a pretty lovely life for the most part. Of course we all have hard things, but like, I don't know, it's given me a weird perspective.
Yeah, and appreciation, which is good.
Yes.
Even on our hardest day, would be the loveliest life compared to someone else. Yes. So that is a good perspective too. Not to say that you can't have rough days, but someone always has it worse and someone always has it better. Yes,
exactly. Yes, we can't compare. It's not what do people say? It's not the grief Olympics or something.
Oh, yeah. That one-upping game, I hate that.
Yes. So it's not that. It's not like, oh, I can't be feeling sad because your life is so much harder. I still can feel sad, but it's just appreciating what we have, being grateful.
Yeah. No, I like that. Yeah.
So,
well, now that we've done our COVID tirade, it did not mean to go down that wormhole. It's just sort of hitting me lately, and I'm sure a lot of people. So, on a happier note, today we have an episode with Tina Haupert from the woman behind Carrots and Cake. Tina's a certified nutrition coach and a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. She is just wonderful. She's a mom of Quinn, who is 6, and also a pug mom. She was so wonderful to talk to. I felt like we had so many takeaways from her, both professional and personal. She just had a lot of really interesting stories and tidbits. She also has ulcerative colitis, so talks about parenting with a chronic illness, and just found her episode to be really interesting, and she's such a warm and lovely person. I just thought she was a wonderful person to speak with.
She's really upbeat, and it was so much fun talking to her.
So we hope you find her episode as inspiring and interesting as we did. Thank you so much again for listening to Mommin. Please make sure to leave a review and subscribe.
You can find us at Mommin Podcast on Instagram or momminpodcast.com. Enjoy listening.
Thank you.
Hi, Tina. Thank you so much for joining us today on this episode of Mommin.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, we were so excited when you said yes. We've followed your blog for years and followed your story of pregnancy and just your family and your career. So we were so thrilled to have you on. We thought you have a great story to share.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to chat about it.
So let's just go ahead and dive in and have you sort of tell us a little bit about your background, your family, where you live, what you do.
Yeah, sure. So I am Tina Haupert. I am the woman behind Carrots and Cake. So originally the blog, and it's a, a lifestyle blog. I'm married. I've been married for 12 years, like lose track, 12 years. I have a 6-year-old named Quinn. I'm also a pug mom. We live south of Boston on the South Shore. So I always say we live between Boston and Cape Cod. So in that little spot there. And nowadays, I do some blogging still, but I've transitioned more to nutrition coaching. And I also became a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. So while I do nutrition coaching, I also do diagnostic testing with clients just to help them get better results. Because, over the years, I've learned it's not just about, what you're eating and exercising. There's so much more to the story. So now I want to be able to help people with stress and gut health and hormones and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
That's awesome. That's so cool that you do that.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. So if you want to just go a little bit more into what that is and what that looks like in terms of doing the diagnostics, what that really means and how you got into that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And people ask me that all the time because they're like, you're an FD, what? What is this thing? And so I'll do a little backstory. So a million years ago, like back in my colitis days when I was really sick, I should probably mention that too. So I also have ulcerative colitis. I was diagnosed 9 years ago. So I have been on quite the journey. Nowadays, I'm doing better, knock on wood, in remission, everything's good. But in my days where I was really, really sick, I worked with a FDN and we tried to do all these like functional things and whatnot. And, I got a little bit better, but I also got pregnant shortly after that. So things got better while I was pregnant and then kind of fell apart, after I had my son. But really, she introduced me to this whole world of functional testing. And the types of tests we do just give us so much more information than just like a typical blood draw. And everything I've learned, it's not like just the food you're eating or, just what's happening with your digestion, at least for ulcerative colitis. A lot of what's happening is related to, stress in my body. It's related to hormones. It's related to the thyroid. There's like a million things that can be going on, and it's not just one thing. So really, I wanted to dig more into that and learn more about that. So I did this program. Really, I have learned so much stuff about how the body works, and I did it for a couple of reasons. One, because I still just want to be healthy. I want to take control of my health. I want to be able to fix myself, as I always say. But then also for my clients, like I mentioned previously, there was always more to the story. Like people would be, quote unquote, doing everything right, but not seeing the results that they wanted, or they'd be, having trouble sleeping, or they'd have crazy cravings, or, they'd suddenly gain 10 pounds, things like that. And I'm like, it's not as straight as just eating X number of calories, exercising this much, and expecting amazing results. There's just so much more that goes in the body than just, calories in, calories out. So that's why I decided to do that program. So now there's all sorts of tests that I can offer my clients. And then in addition to those tests, we have all sorts of data that we can use moving forward. But then I'll use a macro-based approach and nutrition, obviously, to get them to their goals. So even though it's, testing, we use what we find on that test and move towards our goals with nutrition, lifestyle, exercise, all that good stuff.
Wow.
Amazing.
How did you, you got on that path, it sounds like a little bit from yourself, but were you interested in healthy eating and nutrition prior to your diagnosis 9 years ago?
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing I think that's kind of, I don't want to say funny about it all, but I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis and it was very much a part of my story on the blog. And so for me being like a healthy living blogger and, being into, healthy recipes and fitness and everything, and then being diagnosed with a chronic illness it was crazy. It was really one of those kind of like identity moments where I'm like, who am I? Like, am I a healthy living blogger influencer or am I a sick person? So it's definitely like a lot to go through with that. But I've always been kind of interested in health and nutrition. And I really, I thought about doing the whole registered dietitian thing and everything. And I think this FDN program really, as soon as I like realized what it was, I was like, yes, this is what I want to do because I love the testing. I think the testing just gives you so much more information. And instead of just like guessing what's going on, be like, well, I think I have like hormone problems, or maybe it's a gut issue, or like, what could it be? It just gives you concrete data that you could just move forward with. So I think it's fascinating too. Just the body is so interesting.
Totally.
Yeah, that's so cool. I feel like we could probably talk to you about this, about this with you all day.
I know. I'm like,
Yes,
let's keep talking
totally.
about
Yes,
that.
I have a lot
I
of
love
questions.
it.
We should probably pay for a coaching session.
Yeah.
To do that. But that's so cool. That's amazing. We'll have to make sure we have people know where they can find you to look
Yeah.
more into that. For sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. It's so fun. And I'm such a dork. I was saying this to my husband, like through FDN, they have this great program, but then they have all these additional modules and additional trainings and everything. And I just keep signing up for them and like paying for more continuing education because I just think it's so cool. Like just being like a body detective, it like sounds dorky, but I'm just like, it's so cool. It's just so much more to the story than just one thing.
For sure. And probably so helpful for both you and your own personal journey, but also your clients. I mean, that's a win-win.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned about the blog, and you've obviously grown your business so much over the years. Can you sort of talk about how that transitioned and sort of like what you're most proud of professionally at where you're at now?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, the blog started off February 2008. It actually started on National Carrot Cake Day, which I think is so funny. Total coincidence. Definitely did not plan that. But I just blogged along for many, many years, and it was just a side job. It was kind of a hobby. And then it really got to a point where financially I could quit my full-time job, and I ended up having a part-time job that kind of supported it. And I also did some freelance writing. So I was doing a little bit of everything for a while, but then thankfully like blogs really took off. And back then it was all about the ads and the sponsored posts and things like that. But I, financially again, could make enough that I ended up quitting all those other side jobs that I was piecing together. And then just did the blog full time for a really, really long time. And then more recently, blogs have transitioned. They're not what they used to be. People are spending way more time on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, there's like a bazillion like different medias out there. So the blog, I don't want to say it's died because it's still like a part of my business, but I just found out that I just really enjoy doing the one-on-one coaching. And I don't want to say put all my eggs in my basket there, but I just love the coaching, like the one-on-one coaching, the group coaching, and now doing this FDN with the testing. So just over the years, things have changed. I've changed. And this, I don't know how to put this without this sounding like not right, but hopefully it comes out. But I feel like back in the day, the only thing I knew how to do was blog. And like that was my job. And I think over the years, I've just transitioned to do so many different things. Obviously the one-on-one coaching, but like I've put out fitness programs. I have a reverse dieting course coming out, but I've done all these things and like really stretched myself. So I think that's probably what I'm most proud of, is not just being stuck doing one thing and just, I don't know, just being stuck in that like blogging world and not really knowing what to do next. I just saw where it was going and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do some other things, let's see where this can go. And then also, I guess I should plug my recent cookbook that just came out.
Yes.
Definitely proud of that. So the Everything Macro Diet Cookbook, it came out beginning of August. That was a labor of love for sure. But I mean, it was so fun. Like I just really, really wanted to do this cookbook, and it's just been so well received. I mean, great reviews on Amazon. People have been tagging me in their posts on Instagram and Facebook. So that's definitely something I feel really, really good about, just because I wanted to do it so bad. And like now that it's out, I'm like, yay, like everybody can try my recipes. And then of course, every recipe has macro counts and nutritional information. And, if you're interested in macros, there's a ton of helpful information in there.
Is there an easy way for people listening? And honestly, I really don't. People are always like, I count macros, and I'm like, that's cool. I don't know what that is really. Is there an easy way for someone who's listening who's like, I don't know what that means, to describe it?
Yeah, yes, that's a great question. I get that a lot too. So I always compare counting macros to something like Weight Watchers, where you're counting points, or maybe just simple calorie counting that you've done in MyFitnessPal, or some sort of app or something like that. But instead of counting points or calories, you're counting the macronutrients in your food. And all food is made up of protein, carbs, and fat. And the whole theory behind it is that if you have a balanced diet of protein, carbs, and fat, you could get to your body composition goals, because you're satisfying your hunger, your cravings, your blood sugar, you're eating well-rounded meals, and then also macros make you more aware of what you're eating. So it's an awareness tool. Like, are you eating 2,000 calories? Are you eating 3,000 calories? And it just makes you aware of those food choices and what you're eating. And the macros really do help you balance, those choices. So I know it sounds like a little crazy and maybe like difficult in the beginning, but I mean, it's like anything in life. Like once you do it, once you start practicing, it's so easy. And I mean, I've been doing it for years and coaching people how to do it. And it's such a good tool for so many reasons.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, that's super helpful. Well, you've obviously had so much, like you said, taking that blog and sort of transitioning, and it's been so impressive to see you take that. And I think it's such a cool thing that you started with this blog and saw where your strengths were and just expanded it into this whole other new business. It's just amazing to have sort of watched the progression too as a reader of your blog. It's just awesome. So that's great.
Yeah, it's been a journey, man.
Sure. Just one step at a time.
Exactly. One day at a time. Let's just make it happen.
So you mentioned a bit about, your husband and your son, but if you want to talk a little bit about, how you and your husband decided to have kids, and if you talked about how many you wanted before having them, or when you wanted to start trying, if you want to go into that a bit.
Yeah. So we got married 12 years ago. So we weren't young when we got married, but like looking back, I'm like, we were kind of young, you know what I mean? Like, mid to late 20s. And we knew we were like, we might have kids someday, but right now, no, you know what I mean? Like we were just too young, having fun. Wasn't really on our radar. It was like, we might, but we'll talk about it at some point. And then between me being super sick with ulcerative colitis, like I was in a flare for years. I was just so sick. Between that and then my sister having a baby, I was like, maybe we do need to hop on this, just because like growing up, I had cousins that were all my age, and my gosh, like between my cousins and my sister, I just had like the best childhood, you know what I mean? And I knew deep down, I was like, if we have kids, I want them to be the same age as my sister's kid, just so they can hang out and be friends and everything. It was just like really important to me. So almost exactly a year later, we had Quinn after my nephew, Matthew. But it was just one of those things. We didn't think it was going to happen as quickly as it did, just because I was so sick. I had been on birth control for like 15 years. You know what I mean? There was like all these like things that we just didn't think it was going to happen. And we got pregnant so quickly. And it was like one of those things like, okay, I think we thought through this enough, like, let's just go with it. Because besides my sister, none of our friends had kids. We are the first out of our kids by many years to have kids. So we just didn't know what we were getting into. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's like new parents, like nobody's ready to have kids, you just all figure it out for yourself. But we're self-proclaimed not kid people, you know what I mean? Like we didn't grow up with kids. We didn't like babysit. So when we had Quinn, we did not know what was going on. We were such a mess. And I think maybe we were like, we might have 2 kids or something like that. But when we had Quinn, it really was a tough decision if we were going to have another one, just because I was so sick. Also, I had a lot on my plate as far as like other businesses that were going on in my life. Kind of a long story there, but there was just so much career-wise that I was like, I don't know if we can fit another kid in. But yeah, I mean, he's 6, and you know what? Like, total transparency, we still question if we're going to have another kid. So we have the conversation like every, 6 months. I'm like, are we going to do it? Are we going to do it? But, I'm 40 now. So now I'm like, we got to like make a decision sooner or later. But yeah, like, it's funny. It's like, we're not like quote unquote kid people, but at the same time, like I love being Quinn's mom. Like it is so fun, and he is like such a cool kid. So now I kind of get why people do it over and over again.
Mm-hmm. For sure. He's also so cute. Pictures of him, it seems like he's just such a little part of your life. Not a little, but you've built like the exercises that you do with him, and you guys do so many adventures. It's so cool to see. I love watching people do stuff like that.
Oh, he's such an awesome kid. Like he really is. So I'm like, could we just have 2 of him? Could we just like make like a smaller version of him? So yeah.
If we could get a guarantee. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. That's it too. It's like, well, so, but yeah,
you never
know.
That's
kind of where we ended up with the whole, are we having more kids or not?
Yeah. Well, and speaking of that, you did do a post on your blog, saying we're probably only going to have 1 kid. Did you get a lot of feedback from that from people, both positive or negative?
Yeah, a ton. And it still gets traction. People are still commenting on it. I'm assuming it ended up on Pinterest or something somewhere. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, it's such a decision. You know what I mean? It's such a hard decision. And I mean, I grew up with siblings. My husband grew up with siblings. So we get the importance of having them. But at the same time, like, I don't feel like anything's missing from our family. You know, I mean, sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe another kid would be great, but like, you know, just the three of us plus the dog, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm good. This is awesome. I love our family. So it's been a tough choice, but yes, I would say so many people can relate. I got so many like nice comments and emails and conversations with people that are like, yeah, we're in the same boat. I could totally relate to what you're saying. And I mean, there's different reasons for everybody's choice, but it was nice. It was nice just to like see other people being able to relate to it and just getting that support. And yeah, it's a tough decision. And I think that's what a lot of people said, that, you know, they're kind of like all over the place before they ultimately decided on one kid. And having one kid's great. I mean, we love it. I don't think it's bad by any means. I mean, Quinn is the love of our life. You know, he's such, like I said, such a cool kid.
I feel like there's perks to both worlds, right? Just like any, like what's right for one family isn't right for another. Like some people can have 6 kids, and I know that I would be the worst mother of 6 children.
Me too. Too much. Yeah, that for me, I'd be like, I can't handle it.
You guys raise each other now.
Yeah. And I think for us too, like prior to this whole COVID pandemic, we just love to travel so much. So I think we would see that. We'd be like, well, traveling with one kid is like so easy. And even now we're like, well, if we had a baby to the situation and we could travel in 2022, like it's gonna be crazy, like with all the stuff and the pack and play and all that. So it's, you know, it's part of the decision. We weigh it all in.
Yeah, a lot to take in there for sure.
Where's the farthest you've traveled with Quinn?
I guess Seattle probably. We've done a few trips to Seattle and Oregon. He's been everywhere, Florida, you know, Vermont, New Hampshire, everywhere around here, Arizona. He's done a ton of traveling. We're actually supposed to go to Paris in May, and that got blown up sadly. But yeah, it's so fun traveling with him. He's such a good traveler now because we just have always done it with him. So he's great to travel with now.
Oh, that's so fun. That's such a cool thing to be able to do too. And with 2 kids, not as easy, I'm sure, financially and otherwise. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So you talked a little bit about this, but you were really sick when you guys decided to have Quinn. So were you freaked out? Was there a lot of information about what it was like to be pregnant with ulcerative colitis? I mean, what sort of information did you have going in?
Oh man. I mean, I definitely did a lot of Googling during that time. And, you know, my body was definitely in rough shape then. So that's why I was like, I don't know if my body's healthy enough to carry a pregnancy, just because with ulcerative colitis, like you are bleeding a lot. You know what I mean? Like you have ulcers in your intestines. So I'm like, this is not a good environment for a new baby. You know what I mean? So I wasn't sure like if I actually was able to get pregnant. And I did talk to my doctor about it, both my OBGYN and my doctor. And their advice was basically, if you're in remission, you have a better chance of getting pregnant, which makes perfect sense. And I was kind of like, well, just see how it happens. You know, I wasn't in remission. And like I said, it happened way quicker than I thought it would. I mean, hormonally, I guess things were good enough to get pregnant. And as soon as I got pregnant, all my symptoms went away. It was insane. It was just, it happens sometimes for women where the immune system just chills out because now it has a baby to take care of. And my pregnancy was super healthy. Like I ate what I wanted. I did CrossFit a few times a week. Like it was a really good pregnancy. And I really didn't even have that many like aches or pains or issues. So I had like a great pregnancy. But then as soon as I delivered Quinn, just I think the stress of the whole, you know, labor delivery. And then also at that point, I wasn't technically in remission when I got pregnant. So after I had the baby, I still wasn't in remission. So that's when things like really fell apart. I was super duper sick for, I don't know, probably like 3 months, 4 or 5 months, anywhere from 3 to 5 months. I don't remember.
With a newborn.
Right.
No wonder you don't remember.
Yes. So it was a disaster. And I joke, but I say like, that's the time that Mal kept me alive because, you know, going to the bathroom like 20 times a day, you know, bleeding, trying to breastfeed, not sleeping. Like it was a tough time, but we got through it.
Yeah.
That sounds really hard.
So, right. But yeah, I mean, obviously that situation kind of influenced if we were going to have more kids too. So it was, yeah, like I said, it's been a journey.
Right. I mean, that time's already so hard and you're, regardless of having a chronic illness, having that on top of a newborn, I can't even imagine. Yeah, I'm sure he did in some sense keep you alive.
Both of us.
Yeah. Oh, Wow. Was breastfeeding more challenging because of that? If you had, like just stop and run to the bathroom or?
I mean, yeah, for sure. Like situations like that. But I mean, we were lucky. I mean, he was a pretty good feeder and everything like that. I definitely wasn't one of those people who had like any sort of like extra, you know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
didn't have like a freezer full of milk or anything like that. But we did well for probably like 4 months. But then I was on like super high doses of steroids and I ended up going on Remicade and it's an intravenous drug. And, I just kind of got nervous about all the drugs that were in my system and it just, passing through to him.
Mhm.
So we ended up stopping after that. But, he got some good breastfeeding in and, hopefully he got all the healthy stuff.
Yes. And super impressive. Like
Yeah.
to be
Mhm.
that sick and to breastfeed and take care of a newborn that's not easy. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're a
no,
rock
it
star.
was a mess. I can tell you it was a mess, but we got through it, right? We got through it.
yes.
Yeah.
Are you, if you're comfortable sharing a little bit of your background with getting diagnosed with ulcerative colitis and how that's impacted your life, talking about a flare that lasted several years, how you've managed it?
Yeah, so yeah, like I said, journey, it's 100% a journey, but I was diagnosed in 2011 and I always say it like came out of the blue. But now, 9 years into this, looking back at all the things that could trigger ulcerative colitis, I'm like, I was a poster child for it. You know what I mean? Like, no wonder I got it. Like I did all the things that I probably shouldn't have done. But anyways, was diagnosed in 2011 and, I was blogging. That was like kind of the height of the blog. So it was just very natural for me to share my story on the blog and, this is what's going on, I'm having like tons of diarrhea and I'm seeing blood and get a little TMI right now.
No.
But it was very, very natural to share what was going on in my life with my readers. And I mean, so many people could relate. I mean, other people reached out with Crohn's, with UC, with IBS, all sorts of people could relate to what was going on GI wise. And then after that, I just kept sharing. I mean, I was sick for like, I want to say like 4-ish years, 4 to 5 years. And really that's because I guess I just thought I could fix myself. Like I was doing the not over the counter, but prescription drugs, just like pills and topical things like foams and all these things, this is obviously too TMI. But I just never really got better. I was just always struggling with flare symptoms. And for me, I was like, I can fix this with food. I can fix this with probiotics. I can fix this with acupuncture. Like I just tried everything, supplements, you name it. And I just never got better. I just couldn't get there. And at that point, like my only options were really steroids, which always worked for me, like prednisone. That would always get me better, but you can't be on that drug for long periods of time. It is just not good for your body. And I did do some long stretches on it just to like stay healthy. But my next option was biologics. So doing the intravenous drugs. And, with those comes a lot of side effects and issues. And I don't know, they just modulate your immune system. So they're not the best. But long story short, I just pushed those off as long as I could, just thinking I could fix myself.
Mhm.
And thankfully I got pregnant. So I got, better for, not 10 months, I guess, technically. I was better. And then once I delivered Quinn and I was super duper sick, I didn't have a choice. Like, I think at the worst, I was going to the bathroom like 30 times a day. And it was just like a toilet full of blood. I had lost probably like 10, 15 pounds. I was constantly like lightheaded. You know what I mean? Like I remember getting up in the middle of the night to like feed Quinn and just like grabbing onto the wall because I was like, I can't even stand up right now. Like this is bad. But my GI doctor was like, you need to come in. Like you don't have any more options. You can't live your life like this anymore.
Mhm.
So finally I was put on Remicade, which was the first biologic I was on. And it got me like 75% better. I was never 100%, but instead of going to the bathroom 30 times, I was going to the bathroom like 5 or 6. You know what I mean? So better, but not great. You know what I mean? So I was on that for about a year. And then I started getting swollen lymph nodes on the back of my head and my neck. So this is what I'm saying, these side effects from these drugs, like it just messes up your immune system. So thankfully, I go to MGH, or I did go to MGH. I had an amazing doctor. And as soon as I failed Remicade, he put me on a drug called Entyvio. And it's a newer intravenous drug, but it only goes after inflammation in your gut. So it doesn't affect the entire body as much as the one I was on. And knock on wood, I've been on that for like 5 years now. And I've pretty much been in remission the entire time, knock on wood. And things happen, but like nothing major. But that was definitely motivation to do the FDN program as well, because I don't want to be on Entyvio for the rest of my life. Like, I want to be just healthy. I want to get to the root cause of what's going on with the UC. And that's why I'm pushing ahead. I keep trying to get better and better. And hopefully I can get off the Entyvio at some point. I'm in no rush to do so, but at some point I want to, because if my husband hears me say that, he will probably murder me in my sleep. Just because I was so sick, and he just knows how sick I was, and he was like, I don't want you going back there, which I can understand. So that was a very long answer, but that's basically like the whole colitis story.
No, that's a great, I mean, that's a great background and a little bit of an insight of probably what that was like.
Yeah. So with this current drug, just because I know nothing about this, do you have to go into the hospital to get if it's intravenous, do you have to go in, like, how often do you do that?
Yeah. So, I actually used to drive to MGH every 8 weeks to do it. But now I have a nurse come to my house, and I just get it done at my house. So
That's amazing.
Life-changing. Yeah, it's been so great. Because, driving into the city, it's not bad. But there's so much traffic, and you have to like plan for it. Now just somebody comes to my house, and it's probably like 45 minutes. It's like pretty quick.
Oh, nice.
That's so
That's
awesome.
a quick infusion.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's not bad. But yeah, every 8 weeks, I have somebody come.
And is that Massachusetts General Hospital? Am I guessing right?
Yes.
MGH?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But previous to that, if you had to go in, that frequently, I guess, and you have a young child, that's a factor. Like, okay, I have to find childcare, and then 45 minutes plus the drive time. So yeah,
totally.
That's so much nicer that they come to you.
Yeah, and that was the reason we started Quinn in daycare, because initially my husband would take off the day from work, but then it would be every 8 weeks. He's like, I can't keep taking off time, and we don't really have anybody to watch him. So, and it was hard. I couldn't take a baby. I guess I could have taken a baby to the hospital and got an infusion, but back then the infusions were 2 hours long. So there's no way a baby would just hang out for 2 hours. So.
Right.
And it's not like you're in and out in 2 hours. It's like a whole thing.
A whole thing. Yeah.
Right. And you're hooked up to an IV. So.
Yeah. It's not like I could chase him around or anything like that. So yeah, that's why we ended up putting him in daycare initially.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's been a journey. Like I keep saying, I'm like, wow, I can't believe all this has happened.
Yeah, it's funny. You don't think about it until you put everything together in one chronological story. Like, oh, I've done a lot, or a lot has happened to me. So does Quinn know, like, does he recognize that you have ulcerative colitis, or does he know what it means specific to you, or how it's affected you?
Yes, I think he knows I have something. I don't think he knows like how serious it is or what it is exactly, but we have these home infusions, and he's home for lots of them. So he knows a nurse comes, he knows I get medicine. He knows there's certain foods there's not a ton of foods I don't eat anymore, but I don't eat gluten just because it's not good for anybody's gut, but especially people who have autoimmune diseases. So like if he gets a donut at Dunkin' Donuts, he's like, oh, you can't have this because that's gluten in it. I'm like, oh yeah. You know what I mean? Or sometimes he'll ask me like why I'm not eating something, and he's like, does it have gluten in it? And I'm like, yeah, so like he does like kind of get it. But I don't think he knows like, I had bleeding ulcers in my intestines. I don't think he knows like that extent. It's just that there was maybe one point I was sick and now I'm healthy. So, he like kind of knows what's going on, but I just haven't given him like the gory details of it.
That's fair. He's 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What foods do you avoid? You said not many anymore, but.
Yeah. So, still gluten. And I always say I'll have gluten in like certain situations, like if a cider donut comes my way, like in the fall, I'll definitely have like a couple bites. But yeah, gluten, pretty much gluten. I used to not eat eggs and dairy, but just being on the Entyvio, like my guts had a chance to heal, and those things really don't bother me. I try to stay away from just processed junk and artificial colors and, just stuff that's like super gross. But yeah, like over the years, I've gotten so much better. So knock on wood, my gut can handle so much more. It's just knowing what I know about gluten is like just one thing I just don't eat.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow. So I know very little, probably near nothing, about ulcerative colitis. Is it somewhat of a genetic thing whereas Quinn is more likely to be predisposed to getting that?
Yeah. So it can be genetic. lucky me, as I always joke, nobody in my family has it. Nobody has any sort of IBD. There's not even any autoimmune diseases in my family. Like I just am lucky. But there are things that can make you more susceptible to it. You know, being on birth control for 15 years, that definitely didn't help my situation. Antibiotic use, things like that. So, I mean, we're just conscious of what's going on with him. So, you know, he had a bunch of ear infections as a baby and he had to be on antibiotics. So like stuff like that makes me a little nervous, but we're doing our best just to give him healthy foods and just, you know, keeping our eye on like what's going on, like lifestyle wise. But yes, because I have it, he could potentially get it, but we're just doing everything we can, you know, nutritionally, environmentally, just to keep him as healthy as possible.
Well, so you've sort of touched on that, you know, health and fitness is such a huge part of your life. And I've seen some of your Instagram posts or some blog posts where Quinn is right there and he's so engaged with you. And I think that's awesome. Do you have any sort of tips for parents on how to get your kids involved or get them engaged with either fitness or healthy eating?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, you know, just be a good example, for sure. I mean, you know, my husband exercises frequently. I do too. We eat as healthy as we can, but we're not like perfect by any means. Like we definitely have treats up in here all the time. But just, you know, doing the best you can, but being a good model, like role model for them. And then the other thing I was going to say is like taking any sort of pressure off the situation. So like back in the day, we'd be encouraging him to eat vegetables or, you know, chicken or something like that. And I feel like just all that pressure on him and making it kind of a stressful situation was not helping. And nowadays we're very like, eat what you want, totally up to you. And like in recent times, since we started doing that, he eats oysters now, which always like cracks me up because he like crushes oysters. He like loves them. But really because we'd go out for oysters and my husband and I would be having the best time eating them. So he was like, oh, I want to get on this fun. And that now he eats oysters. He like loves them. But he's just tried so many more foods just because we have such a great time, you know, eating certain things. And I mean, he's so funny because like he won't eat chicken nuggets. He won't eat mac and cheese, but he eats like guacamole and he eats oysters and he eats hummus and he eats like he loves kava. That's the thing he like loves. But it's like anything that my husband and I are excited about, he's excited about, you know? So we're like trying to make, you know, broccoli and Brussels sprouts exciting. He's still not there with those, but at least he's like tried a bunch of new foods. So I think just, you know, being good role models and just like enjoying like what you're doing, you know, and hopefully it rubs off on them. That's like working out, you know, like we just make it fun. Like we have a like speed ladder that we bring out in the driveway and we just do like different drills and he's like so into it. He like loves it.
Oh, awesome.
So fun.
What does that look like? So I only have toddlers right now. So, and I do try to keep the pressure off, but I of course serve them their plate with what they want, with what I want them to have, and then they pick out off of that. Mm-hmm. Him being older, do you let him pick what's on his plate or do you serve him a plate and then he gets to decide what he eats?
Mm-hmm, exactly. So we pick the food and then he decides if he wants to eat it or not. And some nights it goes really well and sometimes it doesn't. But we actually talked to, I think it's Casey, I can't remember her name, but she's Mama Knows Nutrition on Instagram. She's got some great info, but we did a session with her and she was so helpful. This is definitely her, you know, telling us to take the pressure off the situation. But in those situations where he doesn't eat dinner, he always has a nighttime snack before he goes to bed. So like as a mama, I like know that he's getting some food before he goes to bed. But again, we pick 2 options for him, maybe 3 options, and they're usually all kind of healthy. So if he's like really hungry, we give him some sort of option before he goes to bed. But again, it's his decision if he's going to eat it or not. So he doesn't pick what he's eating, but he decides if he's going to eat it or not. But that dinner fight has been never ending. It's just, you know, some nights he eats like one slice of apple and he's like, I'm full. And I'm just like, all right, have 1 slice of apple, you're good. But before we go to bed, you know, I'm like, do you want a yogurt smoothie or some yogurt smoothie and like a granola bar or whatever it is? And, you know, at least he eats something before he goes to bed.
I love that.
Yeah. Because just last night I had to say to my Tyler, like, this is the only food you're getting. And I had like tears in my eyes and I've turned like, I have to follow through. And what if she's hungry and my child's going to bed hungry? I don't have the willpower to stay strong on that. So that's a really good idea to do a snack.
Yeah, 100%. Because that was the thing. Like my husband's very like type A. We're going to be a rule follower. Like if you don't eat dinner, you're getting no food and going to bed hungry. And then just being like the mom, I'm like, you can't send my kid to bed hungry. You know, I'm like,
You monster.
like, I know, it just like break my heart. And Quinn's already super skinny, so it's like I want to make sure he has some food. But yeah, that's been great. He just has like a snack at like 7. He goes to bed by 8, and it just works out.
That's a great idea. Also, there's something about calling it a snack. Like my daughter, in the morning, she'll say, I want a snack. And I'll say, no, we have breakfast first. No, but I just want a snack. And so I've started calling breakfast a snack. And now she's like, oh, I'm excited.
That's what Asher calls it too. He wakes up and he's like, I'm ready for my snack. I'm like, okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Quinn's the same way. Snacks are way more fun. Way more fun.
Totally. To be fair, as an adult too. Yeah.
Oh, I get it.
Do you have any go-tos for snacks I mean, he sounds like he might be more of an adventurous eater than some kids, but do you have any go-tos for snacks?
So he loves fruit. He's like a big fruit person. So, apples, pears, peaches, bananas, even just like a cut up banana in a bowl. He like loves that. He thinks it's so great. He does peanut butter and jelly bars from Trader Joe's. They're actually like pretty tasty. Like cheesy crackers, like those like cheese crackers. Yogurt smoothies are always a good go-to for him. It's funny, like he is adventurous, but like he doesn't eat like normal kid foods, So I don't know. That's pretty much it. Those are kind of like the go-to. He'll do hummus and pita bread sometimes. That's like every once in a while. That one's kind of on the back burner lately. He hasn't really been into it. And then like the huge, like my husband brings in like Cheez-Its and Pringles and like that type of stuff. And he's always game for that. So
yeah.
Oh man, I could go for a Pringle right now. That's awesome. I'm gonna remember that one.
Pringles?
No,
just kidding.
Yeah. But I will not forget the Pringle.
And you've touched on this. It sounds like you do exercise and healthy eating, but what kind of things do you do to take care of yourself? Maybe more as kind of like the quote unquote self-care, like things for you to get downtime for yourself.
Oh man, I probably need to be better about it, but I feel like everybody probably needs to be better about it. I think right now, like at this phase of my life, I'm really good on going to bed at like a good hour. Because I'll put Quinn to bed at like 8, and then sometimes I'll go to bed at like 8:30 just to like get like a good night's sleep. Because I'm kind of an early riser, so just getting like good quality sleep and like the more like just doing the FDN program and just learning more about how important sleep is, it just affects so much as far as like your mental state, obviously, hormones, repairing muscles and building muscle and like all those good things. So I'm really good on sleep. I think that's probably the biggest thing for me. And I'm working on disconnecting from work and social media. It's definitely like a work in progress, but I do get in good grooves where I'm like, no phone tonight, no working like super late or super early. So really just trying to hold myself to that too. Cause I do think there's a time that you just need to like unplug and just be present with your family and not worry about all the other stuff.
Oh, definitely.
For sure. And Quinn, I mean, he's a little older than my kids, so he probably is much more aware of like, oh, there's a phone out. And like, does he really interested in it and want to play on it or recognize when you're on it?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's funny because there's this one game on our phone that, he's played in the past, but he's like obsessed with it. So anytime that we're like out somewhere and he knows we're busy doing something else, he's like, can I play Happy Glass? And like Happy Glass is a very, very cool game. It's all about physics and it's a good one. It's a good one. But yeah, it's fun. But he like always wants to play it. And like anytime he can see us like busy, doing something else, he always wants to be on my phone. So I don't know.
Have you guys had that conversation of when you'll let him have one?
Oh, geez, not for a while. So my husband's teacher friend has older kids. I think one's in college. I think they're both in college now. But back in the day when they bought their kids phones, I don't know if it was in high school or whatever age it was, but basically they were like, if we buy you phones, there are phones. And at any time we can look at text messages. We can do whatever we want. And I mean, if you want to buy your own phone, it's your phone and you can do what you want with it. But if we buy these phones or we're paying for the plan, you have to leave them in our room at night. Like we have full reign on it. And I just love that idea. Not that you need to like snoop on your kids, but I do think it like does set some like boundaries and like what they're going to do on their phone. So I love that idea when we get to that point. But I just thought that was like really good for just, making sure your kids aren't being lunatics.
Yes, especially the phone, not with them at night. Like that's just huge.
Yep, go to bed.
Just the fear of thinking that they could look through it. That's a good,
Right. Mm-hmm.
And is Quinn starting? Did he do kindergarten already, or is he did? So is he in first grade now? Starting it. Okay, what's that looking like?
Oh yeah, so so in our town currently he's going back 4 full days, and then 1 day remote. So we'll see how long it lasts.
And are you guys just kind of, you'll take that other day off with him and you try to get your work done in 4 days? How are you guys working that out?
Yeah, so my husband's a teacher. So he is currently teaching remote 5 days a week. So on Wednesdays, I guess I will be mama teacher. And my husband's going to be just teaching in a bedroom, to his classes or whatever he's going to do. We don't even know. But yeah, I'll be Quinn's teacher on Wednesdays. And then, if stuff really blows up and they're all 100% remote, we'll probably hire somebody at that point just because I can't do 5 days of school and work and, the whole bit. And my husband's going to be crazy, teaching remotely and just a different life for him. So it's going to be interesting.
Yes, definitely.
Like everyone sort of navigate, especially people who have kids in school. It seems like a lot, and my heart goes out to anyone trying to figure that out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it could be interesting to be his teacher.
Yeah.
I feel like I would be intimidated once I get past like 3rd grade math, thinking, oh, I don't even know where to go.
For teaching?
Yeah. For teaching
as
math.
a parent.
Yeah, as a parent, yes.
Totally.
So what is sort of a goal that you have for your family coming up? It's even like something you're trying to implement with Quinn for him to either start doing, soccer or something, or a trip that you guys want to take, any goal that you have for your family?
Oh, I think trying to get through the school year is going to be a big goal.
That's a good goal.
Yeah. I just think about like the spring, everything blew up in the summer. It's just, I didn't think we were such like schedule people, but like not having a schedule and just life being kind of up in the air, it's been like really stressful, just not knowing what to expect and, long days of, trying to get everything done and, balancing work and kids and, the whole bit. So I think, just getting into a new routine and just being in a good routine. I think that's going to be like the big goal coming up.
I don't think you're alone. How is Quinn feeling about, or maybe he's like, this is great, I get to go back to school, but how is Quinn feeling and how are you guys feeling about the start of school and finding that new routine?
Oh, he is so excited. He's so excited. Like we haven't seen that many people just, pandemic life. But he played t-ball this summer. And I mean, any time that he encountered a kid from his class or somebody he knew, he just lit up and changed into like a different person. You know what I mean? It was just crazy, We actually had him in camp this past week at the YMCA and, they've had no COVID issues. They wear masks. It's been like very, very safe, but he has been just in the best mood, like well-behaved, has like these full-on conversations with us. You know what I mean? It's just like, there's something about like being in a schedule, being around kids his age, being involved in something other than like video games or TV or something like that, or just hanging out with his parents like all the time. It's just, he's like a different kid. So I think he's really excited to go back. We're excited for him to go back because it's been weird. It's been weird. So I think we're all excited to get back into the routine.
Totally.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, I feel so bad for these kids.
Yes.
It's got to be hard and weird and just crazy. But I'm so glad to hear that he's enjoying seeing those people. That makes me so happy.
Oh yeah, he loved it.
And then maybe there's not, but is there a parenting tip that you've been given by someone that you really resonated with you?
So I don't know if it's a tip per se. Well, maybe, I guess it's a tip. But I think being friends with people who have older kids or kids that are, just at a higher grade in the school system, I think has been really key for us because they've gone through things before. They know about things that you don't know. But just having a few friends that have older kids has been just so huge because like, we don't know what's happening. Like we're just like, we have one kid, and we just don't always know what's around or what's happening or what sports or activities are going on. So it's been just so nice being friends with people who like actually know what's happening. So that's been like just really helpful. They're almost like mentors, you know what I mean? Just to be like, this is what you need to do for your kid, or if you want to do this, you got to do this. So that's just been really, really helpful.
Oh, I haven't thought about that before, but it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we just don't feel so lost, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, that's a great idea. I think actually I do have a friend that has an older kid. I didn't realize until you just said that how often I reach out to her to be like, is this normal? What do we do about this? That's great. That's awesome. And do you have any recent tip or product or something that's helping your family that would be helpful for maybe other people to know about?
That's a good question. What have we been doing lately?
Quarantine.
What month is it? What year is it? Just kidding. We know the year.
I mean, we really like Disney Plus this summer. I can tell you that.
That is a good product.
That's a great recommendation.
Well, it was a combo deal. It was like ESPN, Disney Plus, and something else. Hulu, yeah. So that was a good purchase. It's been good for all of us. This is like a really lame answer. I apologize.
No, that's perfect.
Nope. I love Disney Plus.
I was gonna say Prime Now, just getting your groceries delivered. That has been really great. Pandemic living, man. Everything's changed.
It has changed.
So true.
I've never appreciated the delivery drivers more.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we found to know our UPS driver.
We haven't.
Only because my daughter and I are always outside when he delivers. And so from afar, she always shouts, look at the bug I found. Because inevitably she's always looking at a bug. And he's always like, I have a daughter the same age. I get it. So that's the only way we've gotten to know him. Do you have any funny or cute kid stories that you want to share?
Oh, yeah. So this actually happened last night. So, oh my gosh. So we were talking about tornadoes yesterday afternoon. I don't even know where it came from. And I was like, Quinn, you know what movie you need to see is The Wizard of Oz. There's a good tornado in that. And he's like, okay, yeah, let's watch it. So our plan was to watch The Wizard of Oz last night, have popcorn, do like the whole movie night. And then he asked me about it like, I don't know, like a couple hours after the tornado conversation. He was like, the Lizards of Oz, where he like said something like that. And I was like, the Lizards of Oz. And I'm like, oh, I know what you're talking about. But he kept calling it that. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. And I totally wanted to like correct him. And I'm like, all right, it's the Wizard of Oz, not the Lizards of Oz. But it was just so cute. And I was like, he's going to be so surprised when he watches this movie and there's no lizards. It was just so cute. And he kept talking about it. He's like, when are we going to watch the Lizards of Oz?
Did he watch it?
Yeah, and he loved it. He was like really into it. And at one point he did say something about the lizards in the beginning. And I was like, oh, buddy, there's no lizards. It's, the Wizard of Oz. And then I go, there are flying monkeys in this movie. And he was like, no, there's no flying monkeys. And then the flying monkeys, like later in the movie came on and you should have seen his face. He was like, oh my gosh, there's flying monkeys in this movie. So it was very cute. From lizards to flying monkeys. It was so cute.
And he wasn't scared of the monkeys?
No, he was into it. He liked it.
Oh my gosh, brave kid.
Yeah, yeah. I know there's some scary parts of that movie, but yeah, he liked it.
There are that you don't realize when you're that little. That there's some dark moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cute. The lizards.
Mm-hmm.
We did want to ask if you wanted to let people know your Instagram handle or where to find you for your blog, if they would want to do coaching with you.
Yeah. So online, Carrots and Cake. So it's carrots, the letter N, and then cake.com. So that's the website. You can find coaching info there. And then I'm pretty active on Instagram. So I'm at carrots and cake. And then I'm also on Facebook, where I have just the regular business page, but then I have a Carrots and Cake community group. And there's over 2,000, I'd say mostly women in that group. It's a pretty active group. So, I mean, it's totally free to join, but that's another good place just to like get info and ask questions and all that good stuff. But yeah, I'm always on the internet somewhere.
And what's the name of your cookbook, and where can people get that?
And then the cookbook is the Everything Macro Diet Cookbook, and it's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
We've had so much fun learning more about you and sharing your story.
Yeah, it's been great. We so appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode with Tina. We had so much fun talking with her, and we hope you enjoyed listening to our talk with her. You can find us at Mom and Podcast on Instagram, momandpodcast.com, and we would love it if you would head over and leave us a rating and review. Thanks again for listening.